Do we really eat Jesus' body and drink his blood? Today we're talking about the mystery of the sacrament of Holy Communion. First, let's start with the basics. What is a sacrament? And what makes Holy Communion a sacrament? A sacrament is a command and a promise and a physical element. Matthew's Gospel records Jesus' instructions for Holy Communion. While they were eating, Jesus took a loaf of bread, and after blessing it, he broke it and gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat, this is my body." Then he took a cup, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." That's in Matthew chapter 26. In that passage, you have all three parts of the sacrament. The command, take, eat, drink, do this. The promise, this is my body, this is my blood, given for you for the forgiveness of sins. And the physical sign, the bread and the wine. So, do we really eat Jesus' body and drink his blood? Well, the bread is just bread and the wine is just wine. But through Jesus' promise, this is my body given for you and this is my blood shed for you, we receive exactly what Jesus promises, namely his very real person and presence. And how does this work? I don't know. It's a mystery. But the mystery of Holy Communion is connected to the mystery of Christ himself. Jesus, a physical being, flesh and blood, born to a flesh and blood mother, Mary, is also God. And in his physical skin and bones, quote, all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. So too in the bread and wine, wheat and grapes, is also Christ. Just as the physical, touchable Jesus contains our divine and infinite God, so the physical and touchable bread and wine contain the divine presence of Christ. In the mystery of Holy Communion, we can take Christ at his word, and when we have the bread and wine of Holy Communion, we have Christ himself. Why does it matter that Christ is truly present in, with, and under the bread and the wine? It matters that Christ himself is present in Holy Communion because of what Christ himself is doing in Holy Communion. Jesus is welcoming you into his presence. Jesus is forgiving your sins. Jesus is nourishing your soul. Jesus wants to be with you. And just like the Father welcoming home the prodigal son, Jesus is throwing a party and you're the honored guest. Jesus is saying, hey, let's be together now and forever. Never forget, I'm with you always. You are mine. So Christ commands us to celebrate Holy Communion because Christ wants to do all these things for us all the time. And Christ really shows up in Holy Communion to do them himself. How old does a person need to be in order to receive communion, and why? There is no standard age across the Christian tradition for receiving First Communion. In the Eastern Orthodox Church, for instance, newly baptized babies receive Holy Communion right after they're dunked in the water. The priest has a special little spoon with a little bit of bread and a little bit of wine and puts it right in the baby's mouth. And in contrast, when my mom was growing up, for example, at her Lutheran church, St. Matthew's in Heron, Michigan, she didn't receive Holy Communion until after she had completed catechism and had become a confirmed member of the congregation when she was 14 or 15 or 16. At St. Luke's, parents are encouraged to have their youngsters receive First Communion instruction when children begin asking to receive Holy Communion for themselves. Usually this is around 4 or 5 years old, but there's no hard and fast rule. Some churches have real bread and some have wafers. Does it matter which kind of bread is used? No. What if you really don't like the taste of wine? Well, first, some practical advice. You have the ability to get used to a whole bunch of things. And even if you don't like the taste of wine, drink it each week and you'll get used to the taste. After all, it is Christ commanding us, drink this in remembrance of me. Second, a point of hospitality. We offer wine and grape juice when we serve Holy Communion at St. Luke's because some people have an easier time receiving Holy Communion using grape juice. So you have an option. Third, a theological truth. Christ is truly and fully present in the bread, and Christ is truly and fully present in the wine. And if you have received one or the other, you have received Jesus. So if for some health reason you cannot eat bread or drink wine, you can receive one or the other and know you've received all of Christ. Some churches don't have wine at Holy Communion, they just have grape juice. Why might this be true? In our culture, alcoholic beverages, like wine, have a good and a bad reputation. And for centuries, it has been used in a good way for people to drink wine and celebrate. Wine, however, contains alcohol, and alcohol is a chemical in wine and other drinks that, when consumed in large amounts, negatively affects our minds and our bodies, and so can lead to bad behavior. Some people have suffered greatly as a result of this. Therefore, some congregations avoid using wine altogether to be sensitive to folks who maybe have been hurt by the effects of alcohol in their lives. At St. Luke's, we offer wine and grape juice for people who are receiving Holy Communion in an effort to be hospitable to everyone. Know this, however, whether wine or grape juice, Christ is truly present in either. So, if the bread and wine is Jesus' body and blood, what if I drop it on the floor, and what happens with the leftovers that we don't eat or drink? Well, we treat the elements of communion reverently because we know that through them, Jesus is giving himself to us. And if you drop the bread or wine, we clean it up and we'll give you some more. The leftover bread and wine will either be given out to other people later or put in the garden where the birds can eat it, the bread, and the wine can return to the earth where it came from. At some churches, you are not allowed to go to communion unless you are a member of that church. What is St. Luke's practice? As a member of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, we practice Holy Communion hospitality. We believe that since Christ is the true host of Holy Communion and Christ is truly present, Christ therefore welcomes all of his family to his table. Thus, all baptized persons are welcome to Holy Communion, no matter where they come from. Some churches have Holy Communion every Sunday, and some only once a month or so, and some have Holy Communion every day. What does St. Luke's do and why? At St. Luke's, we celebrate Holy Communion every Sunday and on special holy days, but we could celebrate more frequently if we desired. In his large catechism, Martin Luther says to all Christians that we should receive this blessed sacrament frequently. Why? Well, because Christ wants to give us his gifts in Holy Communion. Again, Luther writes, if a person stays away from the sacrament day by day, he or she will become more callous and cold. Rather, Christians should treat Holy Communion as a, quote, pure, wholesome, soothing medicine that aids you and gives life in your soul and body. So, of course, we want to receive this from Christ as often as we can. Therefore, we celebrate Holy Communion each week. Well, that's it for this week. You can put your questions in the comments section, and the link to the online response is in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on Sunday.